You learned to read a room before you learned to read a book. By the time you were 7, you knew which mood your mother was in by the way she closed the front door. By 10, you were mediating arguments. By 12, you were giving advice to adults who should have been giving it to you. And somewhere in all of that, you became the responsible one. The fixer. The small adult in a house that needed one. But here's what no one told you. That skill that kept you safe as a child. It's the same skill that's exhausting you now. And there's something stranger. Something you might not have noticed yet. Think about your last crisis. Maybe it was at work. A deadline moved up. A project fell apart. Someone dropped a problem on your desk that should have been theirs. You didn't panic. You didn't freeze. You assessed, you delegated, you solved. Later, someone probably said, "I don't know how you stay so calm under pressure." And you smiled. Nodded. Thought nothing of it. Now think about last night. You were standing in front of the refrigerator. There was food in there. Plenty of it. But you couldn't choose. Something rose in your chest, not hunger, not even frustration. Just paralysis. You closed the door. Made toast. Ate it standing up. Here's the question the video wants you to ask, but won't answer until later. Why can you handle a corporate meltdown but not dinner? Why can you hold space for everyone else's pain, but freeze when someone asks what you want to watch on Netflix? The answer has nothing to do with willpower. And everything to do with something that happened before you were old enough to remember choosing it. Let me describe a person. They're reliable. When something goes wrong, everyone turns to them. They're the one who remembers birthdays, who plans the gatherings, who notices when someone's quiet in a different way than usual. They're independent. They don't ask for help. Not because they're proud, but because it genuinely doesn't occur to them. By the time they'd think to ask, they've already solved it. They're calm in chaos. But put them in a peaceful room with nothing to manage. They get restless. Anxious. They start looking for something to fix. Sound familiar? Here's what's strange. This person sounds mature. Strong. Admirable. And they are. But they're also exhausted. And they don't know why. Because exhaustion is supposed to come from doing too much. And they're just living. Functioning. Being who they've always been. So why the fatigue? Why the strange moments of paralysis? Why the feeling that everyone else is living a life that's theirs, while you're just responding to requests? The answer is hiding in plain sight. You're still working a job you were hired for at age 6. Let's go back. Not to a specific memory, maybe you don't have one. Back to the dynamics. Something was unstable. A parent who was overwhelmed. A parent who was sad. A parent who was angry in ways you couldn't predict. A sibling who needed protection. A household that only felt safe when you were helping. So you helped. You learned to monitor moods the way meteorologists monitor storms. You learned what triggered the outburst and what soothed it. You learned that when you were useful, things were calm. When you had needs, things got complicated. Developmental psychologists call this premature autonomy. It sounds clinical. Here's what it means. Your brain was forced to run adult software on child hardware. And it worked. Miraculously, it worked. You became the family's emotional regulator. The unofficial therapist. The one who held it together. But here's what no one tells you about adaptations. They don't go away when the danger does. Your brain learned, I am safe when I am needed. I am unsafe when I need. That wasn't a thought. It was a neural pathway. Every time you set yourself aside, that pathway got stronger. Every time you were praised for being mature, for being easy, for being the one who never asks for anything, the pathway deepened. By now, it's not a pathway. It's a highway. And the roads you didn't use? The road that knows what you want. Overgrown. The road that asks for help. Buried. The road that rests without guilt. You're not even sure it was ever built. This is why you can handle a work crisis but not dinner. The crisis activates the highway. The dinner requires a road you never built. But here's the part that keeps people stuck. The part that makes them think they're broken. Most advice for people like you sounds reasonable. Just ask for help. Learn to say no. Put yourself first. And you try. You really try. You say no to one thing. You ask someone to pick up the groceries. And it feels wrong. Guilty. Like you're doing something bad. So you stop trying. And you conclude, I guess I'm just someone who can't receive. This is who I am. But that's not who you are. That's a nervous system that learned a survival rule so early, so deeply, that it forgot it was a rule. It thinks it's reality. The question isn't, how do I change who I am? The question is, what was your brain actually trying to survive? And the answer to that question, which we're about to get to, is the key to everything. Because once you see what your brain was protecting you from, you can finally show it that the danger is gone. Let's look under the hood. In the 1940s, a psychologist named John Bowlby was studying something that would change how we understand human development. He noticed that children separated from their parents didn't just get sad. They got desperate. They'd do anything to restore the connection. Because here's what Bowlby understood, for a human child, connection to a caregiver isn't nice. It's a survival need. Like air. Like food. If a child loses that connection, their nervous system interprets it as a life threat. Now apply this to you. You were a child. Your safety depended on your caregivers. But your caregivers were unpredictable. Overwhelmed. Emotionally unavailable. Maybe present physically but absent in the ways that mattered. Your nervous system had one job, maintain connection. Keep the attachment figure close. So it scanned the environment. What keeps them close? What pushes them away? And it found an answer. When I help, they stay. When I need, they leave. Not in words. In patterns. In the difference between a parent who engages when you're useful and a parent who withdraws when you have a problem. Your brain made a logical, life-saving decision. Needs are dangerous. Usefulness is safe. And it built an entire personality on that foundation. This is the mechanism. This is why you feel 40 at 20 and 20 at 40. You built the useful parts first. The parts that connect, that serve, that hold. You built them strong and deep. The parts that want, that need, that rest. Those never got built. Or they got built shallow. Because building them felt like risking your life. So now you're an adult.